Patrick and I had quite an adventure last week. We played at Punta, Espada. We were in the Dominican Republic for a YouTube seminar. And it's the best golf course Patrick's ever played.
#1 in the Caribbean.
Yes. And had a caddy. We were going to film, and we decided not to film because I said, Patrick, you've never played a place like this. Why don't we just play golf and have fun?
Yep.
And I think what you'll see and what we'll talk about will help your own game when you travel and play a different course rather than your home course. And if your expectation level is really to enjoy yourself and have fun rather than worry about what score you shoot, it's great. So it's one of the neatest courses I've played. I think it might be. I've played all over the country and all over the world, and it's definitely in my top 10 and maybe in my top 5.
Yeah, for me, clear #1. The best course I've played is probably something in Missouri or maybe over on the East Coast a little bit. But it was interesting playing a course that was so fancy that it's a little intimidating. Maybe some of you guys have only ever played a couple courses like this. I think a $500 greens fee for if you're not a PGA member, which for me is like 10x what I'm used to paying. Out here you can get some pretty good deals for decent courses. So, but usually they don't come with a caddy. So
Patrick got Pro V1s on the driving range.
Yeah, that was
pretty
something.
cool.
Yeah,
Huh?
that was pretty neat. Yep.
And a caddy.
A caddy, which was again the first time I've ever had a caddy. This is a very different experience. I think it's in some ways helpful and in some ways can be detrimental depending on what you listen to. That's one thing that I think we learned right off the bat was that you have to be careful what advice you listen to and which ones you take in, because he's offering you what club to hit, what kind of line to pick, and on the putting greens he was really good about telling you aim exactly right here. It's a little slow, he'd say, or it's a little fast, depending on if it's up or downhill. But one of the things that was interesting for me is working with Ed as my coach for the last few years. I've learned a lot of what things should I pay attention to in my swing. And on the very first tee, he was saying, "Oh, you're coming a little." The caddy was saying, "You're coming a little over the top on your thing," or "Oh, you got to keep your head down," which is one of Ed's biggest pet peeves.
Absolutely.
And so I learned you really have to be kind of careful, what advice you take in. And I think that goes for if you're just got playing partners out there too. You're playing with your random buddies and they're giving you unsolicited advice. Maybe it's like you gotta be careful what advice you listen to.
Yeah, not only be careful, just say thank you and don't pay any attention to it. It's my advice. So.
Yeah.
But yes, I agree. And he was a great caddy. I've had lots of caddies, and he was very personable. They're trying to make tip money, so they are trying to help you as much as possible. But you have to be careful. And he was a great green reader. He was one of the best jugglers of the ball I've ever seen with a wedge and a golf ball.
He could compete with Tiger Woods on that one. He was good.
Better. He was amazing how good he was.
Yep.
And he actually called me the White Tiger, so he was trying to get me to tip him good at the end there too. But we had a blast. The scenery was spectacular. It's a Jack Nicklaus design course, and I'd love to talk to him about it because, Jack won a U.S. Open at Pebble Beach, and Cypress Point's right next door to Pebble Beach, and so the coastline's not quite as dramatic as the Monterey Peninsula, but pretty dramatic.
It's pretty cool, yeah.
And there was a lot of holes there where I think Jack had both Pebble and Cypress in mind when he was designing there. I can't remember the number exactly, 13 or 14 would be my guess. Was a 260-yard par 3 up the hill, dogleg left, and it's almost a mirror image of number 16 at Cypress Point.
Yeah.
And I'm sure he had that in mind when he got there. But man, from the first hole was spectacular with those white cliffs on the left.
Yes.
And then the number 2, the caddy, we played it at about 6,300 yards. But we probably played it longer than that because there were 3 or 4 holes where the caddy said, "No, you want to play the back tees."
He brought us back to the tips.
Just because of the elevation change, and the hole looks spectacular.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Number 2, we did that on.
Yep.
Number 17, I know we did that on, and there was a couple other holes. But it was truly great. You'll see the pictures as we're talking, and The drive out there was interesting, and
Driving through the jungle a little bit.
Yes,
and if
exactly.
if you haven't been to the Dominican, our buddy Daryl, he's the YouTube guy we were seeing. He said the rule there is whoever has the biggest car wins.
Yeah, that's right. Everybody else gets out of the way. You just keep on going if you're the biggest one.
Yeah.
And we were pretty big in a little van, and but it was interesting. The construction down there was amazing. How much is being built and stuff, and all tourism stuff. This Punta Espada place, I mean, the homes and all that they're building there is incredible.
Just amazing, yeah.
Yes, and I'd never been there before. I've been to Mexico. I like the Dominican 100 times better than Mexico.
Yeah.
It was a lot better. The people friendlier.
Oh, yeah.
Most of them can speak enough English to communicate.
Yep.
The airport was great. Side note, airport. Patrick's got the greatest hack getting through the Dominican airport on the way home.
Yeah, there's a little $20 side thing where you can go get a VIP pass, and they'll take you right through customs, right through security, and you're in the airport in the little shop.
In 5 minutes.
Yeah, literally, probably under 5 minutes. Whereas if you do the normal line, it's I did it last year. It was a 3-hour wait to get through all that stuff.
So the VIP immigration, there's just a little sign and a little door, and you walk in, and there's a security agent behind the glass thing, and she stamps your passport, doesn't ask a question.
Yep.
And
that's the best $20 you can spend in that,
they have a lounge
country.
there. You can spend more and stay in their lounge
You could,
too.
yeah.
But yes,
Yeah.
so that was the greatest idea ever, probably. So that's what I would say.
Yeah. One of the things I found really interesting was, I've green reading something I've been working on a lot in the last couple of years, and you've really helped me a lot looking at the different grains where you can see it's into the grain or it's dark or light. But having a caddy who really knows I mean, he was spot on with every read. Like he'd tell you pick the spot, and from where I was standing, like I never would have picked that spot. I'd be this way or that way, and it was really interesting seeing someone who's so confident with the reads to let you know this is the correct spot, and if you did hit his spot, I mean, you were really close to the hole. He didn't miss a single one of those.
Yeah. And I'm really good at reading greens, and so I pretty much would have him read them, but I agreed with everything he said, and so it was really, really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
One thing too we discussed too, when you go play a great new course for the first time, even if you're a scratch player, a scratch player probably is not going to break 80 the first time he goes someplace. These greens were rock hard.
Yes.
Right?
There's so many times that either of us, but especially you, would hit a great shot that would be, if it was anywhere out here in Missouri where it's soft greens, it would hit and probably bounce once or twice and be right next to the hole. Yeah. But here you'd hit short of the pin and it would bounce 30 or 40 yards off the green. Like it was.
They were firm and they weren't terribly fast, but they were probably stepping 10 on the step meter probably. But man, hard as a rock.
Yes. Yeah.
And so it was really difficult. If you short-sighted yourself, it was really difficult.
Almost impossible, really. Yeah.
For anybody, I don't care who, a tour player would have had the same issues.
Yeah.
And so take that into consideration as you're playing, and really you almost consider it a match play type format rather than a stroke play.
Yeah.
If you have a blow up hole because you're not used to the greens and all that, just forget about it. It's just one hole. Just go play the next hole good. And don't worry about what your overall score is. And I think you'll really enjoy it a lot more.
Absolutely,
yeah. And I was glad that, we were going to film and decided not to because, man, you've never been any place like this.
Oh, it was amazing,
Yes, and I thought, man, let's just go play and have fun.
Just enjoy it,
And that's what we did.
It was the right decision.
Took a zillion still shots as you're watching.
Yeah, we got a lot of good phone footage. So.
Yeah. And we played with a really nice father and son. They paired us with. They were from the country of Colombia.
Yeah.
And both good players.
Very good.
I'm sure that father, when he was younger, was a heck of a player.
Yeah, the younger guy
and his son was a tournament player, one of the best players in Colombia as a junior.
Yeah, he was driving it way
out
there.
He could flat smoke it. I'd say he had a couple 300, 320-yard drives.
I agree.
Probably.
Yeah.
So. And Patrick really drove it good after the first hole. We both didn't get off to a very good start on the first hole.
It's an intimidating first tee shot.
It was, yeah. And I made a miracle bogey, frankly, and the way I hit my first couple shots. And so, but but it was a blast. And if I ever am down there again, I'm for sure playing
me too.
it.
I would love to play
Frankly,
again,
if I was going to go down on a vacation and stay somewhere, I would stay there.
Yes, yeah.
I'm sure you got a better rate at the golf if you were
Probably,
at
and
hotel.
the
It wasn't a
accommodation
very
looked
big-
awesome.
It did. It wasn't really very big, but it just had like one hotel and one restaurant, looked
Yeah.
like, and the restaurant at the clubhouse.
Yeah.
So 2 restaurants. But boy, it'd be a nice place to stay.
Yeah,
I would agree. And
Yeah.
smaller beach than like where we stayed, but big enough for no
You can
more
definitely
people
enjoy it.
there.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, one of the things that was really interesting for me is that when we do playing lessons around the course, you've always been good about telling me, hey, when we're on the driving range, we're working on our swing, we're trying to make changes and all that, but when you're out there playing, you take your swing you have and you adjust for your miss that day. If you're slicing it right, just aim a little left and compensate. What I was doing is, going
You're
left.
actually hitting it left,
right.
but they really weren't bad left
Yeah.
as much as you think. That being next to you, watching, I mean, he was hitting it 15 yards of hook, but that was all.
And so
But
I
he was
just-
aiming left and hitting 15 yards
Yeah,
of hook.
which was
so it
getting me in
wasn't-
trouble,
That's
so
right.
you
I
ju-
just said aim right.
Yeah, and as soon as I think my first tee shot, I hooked it way up into
Into
the
the
cliff,
cliff, yeah.
and then maybe second hole is the same, but then I started aiming to the right side, which to me was more right than I ever usually aim, but I was still kept, and then just hitting a nice draw, pretty much
And
center
a long
after
ways.
that.
I mean,
so.
you drove it really well.
Yeah.
Yeah, you did. You hit a lot of great shots. I mean, and so, and it was just, man, we made a lot of bogeys because it was just hard to get up. If
Yes.
you missed a green, I mean, you made a bogey because they were so firm.
Yep.
And the lies were so tight in the fairway. I mean, it was in impeccable condition though.
Yeah.
So great time. I'd recommend it if you're down there. And
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
hope you enjoy it. It's not video footage, but Patrick was so good on his iPhone there. He took a lot of still shots. So we're taking a wing, hoping people will enjoy watching.
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
I
and
think you will.
hopefully next time we'll go back down and get the real cameras out and try to do a more proper video. But we just had so much fun. We thought it'd be fun to kind of share our experience with you guys, and hopefully you enjoy it.
Yep.